Unique Mecca Audio, man. I'm here in the Bronx. I'm over here at the old Disco Fever right here. We're gonna turn the camera so they can see the Disco Fever. This is the old Disco Fever right here. You know what I mean? All right. But this is what it turned into. They turned the Disco Fever into a church, man. But I remember back in the day, I came pulled up. I used to park right out here. You know what I mean? I wasn't driving. Let's get it straight. We talking about back in the late 70s. You know what I mean? I was, maybe 14 years old. We used to come to the Disco Fever after we done rob houses out in Jersey. Did what we had to do, you know what I mean? Go hit the Coke block over there on 163rd, you know what I mean? Sell the Betamaxes, Sony Trinitron, you know what I mean? The VHS wasn't even out yet. I'm talking about the Betamax. They still had cable boxes that came with a wire, connected to it. I'm talking about back then, man. Used to run up into people's houses, not bragging, just letting you know what I did so y'all don't talk no shit. That's what it is. But that's what made me the man today. Down right up the hill, over here, turn the camera over that way. That was a spot called Up the Hill. You know what I mean? That was the hilltop. The hilltop is where we used to go after the Disco Fever closed. That was the after hours club. You know what I mean? I used to come to Disco Fever, with the OJ. Big shout out to KI2222, Big Marvin. You know who you are, you watching this. He used to stay over there at Fordham apartments, over there on Fordham and University. But that was my cab driver, man. But that's how we did it back then. They had the 98s, the Oldsmobile 98s, the big Deltas, the Cadillacs, you know what I mean? The Eldorado, the Seville. That's what they had, in the cab service. That's when, they had Touch of Class in the Bronx and KI2 over here. I mean, Touch of Class in Harlem, you know what I mean? On St. Nick, and then KI2 over here in the Bronx. But this is how we used to do it. So we pull up here with our little OJs. That's what we called them, OJs, because OJ was running around doing all that movement back then when he ran through the airport, jumped through it with the Hertz commercial and all that. But that's how we used to do that, man. But we came over here, we parked the cars here, we went up in here. I remember the first time I came, I seen Grandmaster Flash and them came. They just made one of their first records, and they came out here, they dressed like Indians with the leather suits with the frills, you know what I mean, and all that. Bobby Brown performed up there. I mean, everybody performed up there. Bobby was a little nigga like damn near my age back then when he was performing. But I was up here back then sniffing coke, doing my thing. I was smoking coke too. That was the freebase era. That wasn't the crack era, because I ain't never smoked crack. Let's get that straight. But I used to cook my own shit up, learn how to cook it from over there, 158th Street with Nanny. Big shout out to Nanny. Nanny sold the son. You know what I mean? To the coke man for a little, 2 ounces. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. That's the crack era. Not bragging about, just letting you know what it is so you know the real. Lady sold the son for crack. You know what I mean? Welcome to the hood. So like I said, we park out here, we go upstairs, you go up the stairs. They had the dance floor down bottom, that was one joint. Then you go up the stairs, that was the main joint. They had the stage, the bar, then they had the back room that was dark. You know what I mean? Everybody chilled out over there and did what they do. You know what I mean? The back room, you go back there and you can rent your pipe, your torch. You know what I mean? The torch with the little butane torch joints. You know what I mean? That you filled up with the little, butane. But we up there, they playing the music, they doing their thing. That's where you had Love Bug Starsky doing his thing, Waterbed Kev, Busy B Starsky. You know what I mean? Back then he was still with the L Brothers. Big shout out to Busy B. You know what I mean? And Love Bug, we had Star Child. Everybody came up in here. This before the rooftop, you know what I mean? And this before Brucey B and everybody came out. Big shout out to Brucey B, Loving to Death, RonG, SNS. You know what I mean? Doo-wop, all the DJs. You know how we do. But I just wanted to give you all a little tour because I'm always in Harlem. So I'm over here in the Bronx right now, was just chilling out. And I said, let me stop and do a little Disco Fever joint. But it's the Fever. The world famous Disco Fever, man, was owned by the big homie Sal. We used to come up in there, sniff coke with Sal. We did what we do. Then they opened up another Fever over there on Tremont. You know what I mean? On Tremont and Webster. You know what I mean? Right when you get off the highway up the street from Jimmy's Cafe. Y'all remember Jimmy's Cafe right over there by the White Castle. You know what I mean? But that's how we do. But we just, New York was popping, man. I mean, New York was popping. If you wasn't on the streets of New York back then, you can't understand what I'm saying. I mean, this way they had the Maximas with the wide body kits, the Jettas, you know what I mean? The Toyota Casada, you know what I mean? I'm gonna give you a visual of all that so you get to see what it was like back then, man. But welcome to the home of the Disco Fever. This is where it all began. This was the #1 spot. This was our, I ain't gonna say Bentleys, because Bentleys couldn't even compare to the Fever. This was our Studio 54, you know what I mean, for Uptown. And then you could go to the Bronx over there, the Harlem World, Celebrity Club. You had the Ecstasy Garage over here in the Bronx, T-Connection in the Bronx, Stardust Ballroom in the Bronx, Authors Roundtable in the Bronx. I can go on all day. But all this was popping, and a lot of y'all never even heard these names. And your parents probably ain't even hear these names because you had to be on the street. And back then you had to carry that thing, man. You had to carry that thing to survive. And you already know when you out here 1, 2, 3 in the morning, you susceptible to anything. So you stayed away from the bullshit. But we over here in the Bronx, man. You know, big shout out to the Bronx, my man Flip. You know what I mean? The whole crew, you know what we do. But, you know, Al B, big shout out. Kevin Childs, you know, he from over here. Crusader Rob, you know what I mean? Let's not forget about Chicken Rob. I mean, you know, this the Bronx. This is the Bronx, man. So I just want y'all to see what it is. So just pan a little bit so they can see, you know, see the joint. You know, yeah, don't be scared, turn the joint. You can turn all the way around. There you go. It's the Bronx. Welcome to the Bronx. I just want y'all to see what the Bronx look like, man. We over here 167 and Jerome, you know what I mean? The old Disco Fever. Like now they got it as a church. So you know what it is, you know what I mean? So they call it Mount Olive Temple, you know what I mean? But a whole lot of murders happen right here. A whole lot of murders happen right here. We ain't gonna count the shootings. A whole lot of murders happen right here. You know what I mean? But I'm not promoting none of that. This is just to give you a true life history of my life and what I experienced so you know what to expect when you see my movie. You know what I mean? Which has got to be a series because too much happened. I did too much. You know what I mean? But this is the Disco Fever. What's the time limit on that where we at right now? You know what I mean? So we doing our thing, man. So I'm gonna wrap it up because I don't talk long enough. I don't want to talk too much and bore you. I just want to give you all a little history of the Disco Fever, man. Welcome to the Fever. Welcome to Unique Mecca Audio. Make sure you subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a goddamn friend. You know what I mean? Follow me on YouTube at Unique Mecca Audio. You know what I mean? Nah, that's follow me. So that's Instagram. I'm just learning all this shit. I've been going 26 years, so bear with me. I'm just doing what I do, man. But big shout out to everybody. You know, my man Mo Grime ain't here right now, but I got to shout him out. Taiwan ain't here. EJ, stick him up. We go all day with the peoples, you know what I mean? Because this how Harlem do. Big shout out to Gusto, the rooftop. I'm going to do a rooftop joint too, so you get to hear my opinion on how it went up in there. Like I said, you know, I used to come out this joint, you know what I mean, with my little 9mm. But back then I used to have the 357, you know, Magnum. You know what I mean? Where I used to make the clip short. You know what I mean? I used to cut the spring cut the spring on the hammer. So instead of being this big, it was this big. And by cutting the spring on the joint, that made it, you know, the Magnum fire more like a semi-automatic to make it feel more like a 9mm. But still, that 357 Magnum, the push on that joint, in my little hands at 14, I had to hold the joint with 2 hands. And even when I held it with 2 hands and I fired it, boom, boom, you know.
Cheers, cheers, toast the crime, toast the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime.
Fresh out the can of 26,
yeah.
Heat back on the strip, getting back in the mix.
Yeah.
What he mentions a gift. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this.
Real.
Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. The Instagram page and the YouTube, you could go and visit.
Yeah.
Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn.
Real.
Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops, Mecca Audio. Get it live like 2 G's in the 90s. Drop top beamer so shiny. I let shorty go, she was whining. Treat her like my past, she behind me. Spend a couple bands on the Dapper Dan. You be back again, getting green like a Packers fan. No cap, it's a roaring uptown. They be whoring uptown, Dominican bust downs. Now we on the positive, we got a lot to give. Now he trying to stop the kids from being inoperative. So take heed, homie, lend an ear. He started in uptown, he gon' finish dead. But now it ain't about selling drugs, buying cars. It's about buying property to make the so we can give back to the youth them. Cause they the truth them, and bless up to all the road men.